Hello, welcome to Module 1, Video C. So in this video, we're going to be talking all about Jupyter Notebooks, what they are, and how to use them. If you've been following along in this series, we've been talking about data processing. In the last video, we talked about why you might want to use a programming language instead of Excel. So in this, I will be talking about, one of those languages you can use. So I'm here in VS Code, which is my preferred way to look at and edit code. But it's not the only way you can access Jupyter Notebooks. A lot of people like to go through Google Colab. There's some other ways as well. I'll link some videos below. But we're just going to be focusing on how Jupyter Notebooks work. So if I go File, and I'm going to go, nope, not that, New File, Jupyter Notebooks, here we go. So Jupyter Notebook, you'll notice right off, looks just a little different than maybe a normal Python file, Python script would. And it has these little cells. So you can see it has one cell, and I can go and I can add more code cells if I want. So each of these cells is going to work semi-independently to run code. So for example, I can go here, type in an equation. It's going to connect to my Python kernel, and once it does that, it's going to print it out. So each cell is going to run what's in it, and then return the last thing that's there, which, in this case was a 7. Of course, I can go down here and print out something else. And if I'm up here and I even define a variable, I can come down here and I can return that variable. So you can see there's a bit of a connected scope between them. So why, if they're connected anyway, why would we want to have these separate cells instead of just running, one big file, one big script? And the answer to that really lies in the time that a lot of data processing steps take. You might be reading in a really big file, and it may take a minute to read in your data. And if every time you make a little tweak or you're debugging something, if every time you run your file, it takes a minute, you're going to get really sick of that really quick. So the reason that Jupyter Notebooks are just so great for any sort of data processing, machine learning, is that you can run those time-intensive things just once and then be down here and prototype more quickly. And so just a few quick things with that I'll show you before moving on are kind of some problems you can run in with the scope. So if I come back up here, I'm going to go ahead and define a function. I'm going to call it funky add. Give it some inputs. And we're going to say it returns 2 times a plus b. So there we go. We defined funky add. I run it. And now I go here and I can use funky add. I'm going to say 2 and 5. There you go. Beautiful. Now if I come back here again, I say, oh, let's set up some variables. So I'm going to say C equals 4 and D equals 5. And then I come down here and I want to funky add C and D. Well, that doesn't work. It can't find C. And the reason for that is that even though I defined it up here, I never ran this block of code. So things do not exist outside a given block of code until that is run. So now if I come here and run it, there I go again, and this works. Another thing that can trip you up here just to be aware of is if you're just writing one, linear Python script, up here you can say that C equals 4, and then later you can come and say, well, C actually equals a string called cat. And this won't really cause any problems because things are being executed one by one by one. However, here in a Jupyter Notebook, I can kind of execute things out of order. So for instance, I can run this cell and then come back and run this cell, and suddenly it's confused because it doesn't know how to add a string and an integer. So that's something to just be a little aware of. I mean, it's good practice anyway to be careful with not reusing variable names, but in Jupyter Notebooks especially, that can get you into trouble if you're reusing variables and changing what they are and then maybe rerunning your code. You can even run into an example, just say if right here I came and ran, said c equals cat. If I run this, the first time I run this, it works. But the second time I've ran it, now cat is a string, it doesn't work. But yeah, that's a quick introduction to Jupyter Notebooks. They're fantastic. You'll grow to love them, but just a few things to be aware of. Thanks for watching.